Hey guys, sorry I missed you. Let's go through everything so you don't miss a thing. Couple heads up so we know. Remember what we need to have done before today, reading journal number 2, which means that before you come back to class next class, reading journal number 3 needs to be completed, so heads up on that. Another reminder about SOLs, of course, don't forget, if you're at home taking the DL, if you're doing DL distance learning, Monday, May 3rd, 9 a.m., Blue Ridge Middle School cafeteria. Make sure you make a plan. Make sure that you and your parents know about getting up there if you're taking it. If you're in the classroom, remember hybrid SOL is going to be on May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, during all of 5th block and part of 6th block. That's a Wednesday. Remember, that's a B day, so think about how that's going to impact you and resource. So let's go ahead and go a little bit further, and let's see where we've been, where are we going. Well, if you remember last class, what we did is we went ahead and we looked at nonfiction part 2, SOL review. We did literary nonfiction day 3 by talking about what we've noticed when it comes to schemas, right? We worked on reading journal number 2, and that was that. Today, what we're going to go and do, we're going to do our very final SOL review period. We're going to do our new literary nonfiction lesson, which is going to be all about description. We're going to work on journal number 3, and that's that. So, as we go ahead, and if this is where we move into the part about our SOL review, remember, take a look down here in the description of the video. The first link there is going to be to day 4. This is our very last SOL review. So go and click on the first link. You'll be able to click through our SOL review. And the second link there will be your final kind of Google form check-in quiz. So make sure that you look at the first link to kind of look through the notes before you go ahead and do the second link, which is kind of your Google form check-in. So I'm going to give you guys, go ahead and pause the video, pause me where I am, click on the first link. Once you're done with the first link, go to the second link, go and take your Google quiz, and I will see you here in just a moment. See you guys in a second. Excellent. So now that you've finished that up, let's move on to literary nonfiction. Let's take a look at our lesson for today about analyzing descriptive passages. Because what we've already talked about, right? We've already talked about central ideas and themes. And while some of them will be explicit and they'll actually come out and say, here's the theme, some of them you're going to have to kind of read between the lines, figure out what the author is hinting at, and try and figure out with an inference what that central idea or theme is going to be. Last class, we actually took a look at schemas. Remember, your narrative schema, that's the author using storytelling to share information, but your informative schema, that's the author using facts and details to share information. So that was last class. But my question, what is this? What in the world is this? Would it help if I did this? Ah, you see it now? This was just a really zoomed in. Post a picture of the seeds on a bell pepper, which, if you didn't know, you'd be like, I don't know what that is, like a mushroom or a fungus or something. But that's how some of you guys are reading. Some of you guys are reading the zoomed in descriptive passages of your book, just being like, I don't know what this is, and keep on going. But what you need to do is you need to be able to zoom out, and you need to be able to understand what this zoomed in picture is really a bigger part of. So this seed is really just a bigger part of the pepper in general, in the same way that some of these descriptions are going to be part of a bigger story in general. So let me show you what I mean. See, authors include description very purposefully, right? So a lot of times it's used to establish a tone or develop a theme. And authors in informational text, they'll stretch out descriptions really far. So if you're ever wondering, oh my goodness, why does this author keep on going on describing this room or this person or this place, and why is this description so long? There's a reason. And that reason a lot of times is tied into tone or theme. Trying to tell you something, right? So what you need to do is you need to go and study these parts closely. Notice the word choice, notice the image choice, analyze those details to try and figure out, okay, so then what is this description trying to get me to think about when it comes to tone or theme? So what I want you to do is actually going to want you to watch a video, and that video is going to be linked. It's going to be a third link down here in the description of the video. So go ahead and click on that third link, okay? And what I want you to do is I want you to watch the first minute and 20 seconds of this, so the first 80 seconds. And I want you to just simply watch this video and ask yourself, what kind of place does this seem to be? What kind of place does this seem to be? Look at the camera angles and ask yourself, what kind of place does this seem to be? Go ahead and pause. Remember, in a minute and 20 seconds, come right back here. I'm going to go and pause the video so you can go ahead and do just that. Huh. So what'd you notice? Do you see how the filmmaker just shows us particular shots of the field? Like you can see fences, but there's no fans or spectators really. It's not a beautiful field. It's kind of cramped, sort of barren. Because what's going to happen is sometimes the setting is described very briefly at first, but then it shifts to become much more And that shift, when it shifts, what that does is that helps us to create a much more complex tone. Okay, so now go ahead and continue that video. Move from the 120-minute mark to the 3:30 mark. Move on to 3 minutes and 30 seconds. And now I want you to notice, now that we're starting to see more of this place, do we want to know more about the people in it? So go ahead and click play on that video again, play it up to 3 minutes and 30 seconds, and now we'll come back together. I'll go ahead and pause the video so you can do just that. If you guessed that place was a prison, you were on to something there, right? San Quentin State Penitentiary of California. So what we need to keep in mind here is the setting is surrounding, and it's not just that all of a sudden our perspectives totally change once we realize that they were in prison. But remember, we're not just looking at those physical descriptions of that place anymore. Now we're looking at those emotional descriptions, right? Because this is important. Setting is surrounding, it's social and psychological as well. One of our students in class, they said that I asked them to describe the setting. They said it was sad. It's like, oh, that's cool. They're describing it from emotional space because that's the same for a school, right? You might describe a school, like cinder block walls and no windows, but to another kid, they might describe that school as safe or comforting. And another kid might look at the exact same school and say that that's anxiety inducing and boring, right? It's those emotional spaces too. So if we take a look, if you look at this now, I actually want to go back. So now we're going to go back one more time. And what I want you guys to do is I want you guys to take a close look. Start back at the beginning of the video. So go back to the beginning, go back to the beginning. Now I want you to notice, now that you've been able to kind of go ahead and, notice this zoomed in picture is actually part of something much bigger overall. Now I want you to go back and look for theme. And now that you're aware of the setting and the impact the setting is going to have on your perspective and understanding, what kind of central themes or central ideas or themes can you start coming through? So let's go back, restart that video from the beginning. Again, just move it up to the 120 mark again, just like you did before, and then we'll come back. I'll go and pause the video. You start again from that video again, pause at 120. See you in a minute. So this is hugely important, right? How does looking closely at the parts, then putting the parts together, make you better understand the whole? I don't know. I mean, like for me, that theme jumps out, right? So like now I see that theme of freedom versus confinement where I don't think I would have gotten that before when I didn't know it was a prison because I was just looking at it as, bell pepper seeds and not the actual bell pepper. So this is important, guys. Texts can be complex. They're going to be complex. So a lot of times when you're looking to focus on one element at a time, you have to reread. You have to go back, right? And then put all those different elements together. And when you do that, take a new perspective so you can gain a new understanding. So here's what I want you to do. Get your nonfiction book, and I want you to go back, and I want a descriptive section that you've already read before. So find a descriptive scene that you know of that already exists, and read it again with a new lens, looking carefully at details, at word choice, at imagery, and actually take notes. Like jot down a couple quick ideas for real. Adding some new findings. Think about word choice. Think about image choice. What tone does the author create? And ask yourself these questions. Why did the author include that detail? What does this detail make me think of when it comes to theme? And that's going to be a major basis for your reading journal. So go and take 10 minutes. I'm going to pause. Go and take 10 minutes and read and look for that now. I'll pause so you can do that. Excellent. So now let's do that reading journal. If you go into Schoology, you go into our purple nonfiction folder, look at our purple reading journal folder, and go to reading journal number 3, you will see this. The prompt says, find a descriptive passage that you read recently in your nonfiction book and pay close attention. Think about the author's word choice and images. What kind of tone does the author create, or what kind of theme? And if you notice, theme is highlighted. Use that for a list of themes if you need. And also pay attention to particular details and consider them closely. Focus on one detail. Why do you think the author included it? What kind of central idea or theme does this bring you towards? Go ahead and write that reading journal. Go ahead and pause. You can do that now. That's pretty much it, guys. So go ahead, finish up this reading journal. Make sure that you also get, our previous reading journals done. Make sure those are good to go. Of course, if you have questions, shoot me an email. I'm happy to help. Otherwise, good luck. You got this.